Hello and welcome to a very late notable names in African American history. This was supposed to be Monday's video, but as with the last ones, I'm very late on delivering it. Now, the person we are looking at today is one Mr. W.E.B. Bois. His full name being William Edward Burgart Dubois. Well, it says it's pronounced Du Bois. I think Dubois as in French, but anyway, Du Bois. He was born on February the 23rd, 1968. This is per Wikipedia. He was an American sociologist, socialist, historian, and Pan-African civil rights advocate. I can't talk. Activist, and he was born in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. Which is an interesting thing because he's born shortly after slavery had been banned. And he's born in Massachusetts, but it says he grew up in a relatively tolerant and integrated community. I'm sure that means he didn't ever experience racism. Because I've talked in other videos about, you know, racism was everywhere in America. It's still everywhere in America. It wasn't just something that was part of the South. But anyway, he was in a relatively tolerant and integrated community. He would do graduate work at Frederick Wilhelm University in Berlin and at Harvard University, where he would become the first African American with a doctorate. So, yeah, W.E.B. Du Bois. Now, he was a top level intellect. He was a writer, activist, historian, sociologist, editor. And he was also a huge protest leader. So, yeah. He was for the tail end of the 1800s and through the first half of the 1900s, he was a activist. Because 68, that means 88. He's 20. So yeah, tail end of the 1800s. Now, some of his notable moments. We talked about how he was part of the Niagara movement with Ida Wells in the very early 1900s. He was a founding member of the NAACP in 1909. But yeah, he is definitely a name that you should see pop up when you talk about African American history and culture and civil rights. He's one of the names you'll see a lot of as one of the earliest big names. Now, he fought against such racism and discrimination. As per Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica, although Du Bois had originally believed that social science could provide the knowledge to solve the race problem, he gradually came to the conclusion that in a climate of virulent racism expressed in such evils as um, lynching, peonage, disenfranchisement, Jim Crow segregation laws, and race riots, social change could be accomplished only through agitation and protest. Because there were other leaders of the time in the attempts to bring equality to African Americans that actually did push for philosophies of accommodation and, trying to peacefully get along. And Du Bois himself is like, he's not wanting it to be violent, but he's like very he's like, we have to make things uncomfortable, protest, agitate. So yeah, um, but anyway, yeah, he was a writer, like we mentioned. Again, as per Encyclopedia Britannica, um, when he helped found the NAACP, he became the association's director of research and editor of its magazine, The Crisis. So yeah, he also wrote The Souls of Black Folk, in which he had expressed the characteristic dualism of black Americans. So yeah. But later in his life, he would actually spend a lot of time in Africa, actually dying in, I think it said it was, yeah, Accra, Ghana. So yeah, he's hugely influential. One of the main, like I said, one of the main intellects, not just in African American history, but U.S. history. Like I said, the guy was had doctorate work at Friedrich Wilhelm University in Germany, and earned his PhD at Harvard. Before that, he went to school at Fisk University. So yeah. Um, let's see. Yeah. As per Wikipedia, relying on money donated by neighbors, Du Bois attended Fisk University, a historically black college in Nashville, Tennessee, from 1985 to 1988. Like other Fisk students who relied on summer and intermittent teaching to support their university values, Du Bois taught school during the summer of 1886 after his sophomore year. His travel to and residency in the South was Du Bois's first experience with Southern racism. So yeah, apparently having been born in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, and spending time there as a child, he had a pretty good history for spending time there as a youth, and it apparently was fairly tolerant. So he, as an African American, didn't experience much in the way of racism until he actually spent time in the South. But yeah, like I said, though, the South is not the only place racism existed in the U.S. So yeah. But yeah. Like I said, he just, yeah. In 1894, he accepted a teaching job at Wilberforce University in Ohio. And had a belief that was very influenced by Alexander Crummell, that ideas and morals were necessary tools to affect social change. So again, very much like MLK, with social change being a moral thing. So yeah, but I just wanted us to get a good look at who W.E.B. Du Bois is and how he affected African American history. And yeah, he's a big name you'll often see when it comes to reading up on some of African American history. But yeah, with this, we'll go ahead and end this episode here. As always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting some links in the description box below the video as always. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.